Hey there, what's happening? Welcome into the show. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report, and we're live here on Chat Sports on this Halloween. It is Thursday, October 31st, 2024. Chase Senior rocking here with you, producer Jake Chipper on the ones and twos. And no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, greatly appreciate all of you for making today's show a part of your day. The San Francisco 49ers might be on a bye week, but there are no days off right here on the Niners Report. A loaded show coming your way. We have some good news on the injury front for San Francisco coming out of the bye. Week 10, by the way, they will play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We'll be back for another watch party. We have some Niners trade buzz from ESPN. We'll also take a look at some Niners trade targets, some players who make sense for San Francisco. Will John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan make a move? That is the big question. We'll also round out the show with a mailbag, so start getting your questions in right now. Hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat. Anytime I'm live, I want you to be a part of the show. A mailbag is an opportunity to do that. Then we put that video up on the channel. It gets seen by thousands of people, as this is the largest independently run Niners channel right here on YouTube, reaching millions of people every single month. And earlier today, we do so much coverage here on the show, short-form content, long-form content. I put together my bye week changes for San Francisco as well. Almost 300 people watching. We'll start the show here momentarily, but first, I want to know where you're watching from. We're emanating live from Studio H here at the Chat Sports Studios, but where are you? Now, it's interesting because I see Pockets the Cheesecake saying the Niners don't need anybody. And a lot of people have that thought, and I can see where you're coming from, and we'll talk about that here on the show. But also, there are some players who could be the apple of the Niners' eye. Anif Holmes is watching from Texas. Allen, Tyler, Texas. King Javier saying, Niners need to get a new wide receiver. Tall is in Colorado. Ernesto, Tucson, Arizona. I see Hawaii, Little Rock, Memphis, another Texas, Tracy, California, Seattle, Alaska. How about that from Just L? York, Pennsylvania from King Javier. Denton, Texas. Fresno, California. We have people rocking with us from everywhere. And as I mentioned at the start of the show, it is Halloween. A lot of you, if you have kids, probably getting ready to take them out for some trick or treating. I'm going to the Dallas Mavericks Houston Rockets game tonight, then going to link up with some friends. So I hope to see some trick-or-treaters out there. But speaking of trick-or-treating and Halloween, what is your favorite Halloween candy? We had this question floating around the Chat Sports Studios a little bit earlier today, and we put up a video on our social media pages. But let me know. I'll start to give you some shout-outs here. Andre Turner tuned in from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I spent a lot of time there. My mom and dad actually grew up in Lancaster. My grandma, who's 98, still lives there. All right. Ernesto says Skittles. Jeff Cochran says Mounds. Trina Hunter says Snickers. Cam says Reese's. Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. My favorite candy in general. And then the Halloween-themed Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, they're always better because of the peanut butter ratio. So Halloween, Christmas, Easter, they smack. I see John Wright saying Kit Kat, King Javier Hershey, well, you are a Pennsylvania guy, Reese's from Niner Mafia, Candy Corn from Fish Junkie. I think, and Chip, we both believe this, it kind of tastes like chalk a little bit. I'll have a couple of candy corns, but then I'm like, I'm eating something that's so artificial. I'm really picky about what I eat. I just don't really like it that much. Anif says Starburst. Tom says Kit Kat. Almond Joy from Forest. Whoppers from Bomba. That's a good throwback one. I haven't had that in a long time. Fernando said Mexican candy. Chip, where are you at? Favorite candy for Halloween?
I caught a lot of slack for this, and I don't know why. I love Hershey's, like Hershey bars. And
simple. I like simple chocolate.
They're delicious, and I was getting flack for them, but they're simple, but they're good. And I've seen a couple people saying Hershey's, so shout out.
King Meek said Jolly Ranchers, Three Musketeers, Lollipops from Anif. So, good, vast answers here. Sweet Tarts, another Jolly Rancher. Twix 2 from Giovanni Medina. Reese's Fresh Off the Line is great from Andre. See, you live in Lancaster. Hershey is not far from Lancaster. And so if you get some of those fresh Reese's from Hershey or from that area, I guess. Is it a Hershey brand? I don't even know. But fresh off the line either way, it sounds really, really good. Anyway, let's get to our sponsors for today's 49ers Report Live. The first one is Prize Picks. We really appreciate them for making today's show possible. It's the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks, and right now they're running a special where you get $50 when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Just go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Myself and Chip, we're always giving out our selections and our lineups, so be sure to tail us. Our other sponsor, our friends at Game Time. They specialize in last-minute tickets at the lowest price guaranteed. And with the Game Time app, user interface is great. User experience is awesome. And you're going to get in the door with the best vantage point and the best price point. Prices drop as the event gets closer. And you can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. And if you download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS. You get $20 off. Terms apply. First purchase only. Niners have a bye week this week, but in Week 10, back in action against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Plenty of tickets available. And as you can see with the Game Time interface, you can see what you'll be seeing from your seats if you want to see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. And then also, you can get the bird's eye view if you're very particular about which yard line you want to sit at. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use that code CHATSPORTS. What time is it? Game time. Now here on our show today, it's Halloween. We want to have some fun. And so we pivot to our Super Chat menu. Earlier this week, our Seahawks channel, Seahawks Today, did $200 in Super Chats. The Cowboys Report edged them with $205 in Super Chats. So I want to do something fun today. Every $100 that we get in Super Chats, I'm going to reach into my bag and I'm going to put on a new Halloween mask. So for instance, we get to 100, that's one Halloween mask. If we get to 200, that's another Halloween mask. And all we have to do is beat the Cowboys Report, and I will put on a third Halloween mask. I don't really want to eat candy during the live show because I have to talk so much for about an hour straight, and I want to give you some really good content, and I think it's more fun to put on some Halloween mask anyway. We're also going to be doing a mailbag segment number 4, so get your questions in. Use the hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat, and if you want to know how you can really help out the show, hit that subscribe button, comment, share your thoughts, but right now, if you're ready to start the show, hit that thumbs up icon. We have well over 300 people watching live, 81 likes. That's good for Terrell Owens, but the more likes that we get, the more people who discover the stream, the more people who come in to hang out here with us, and the more fun that the show will be. After all, we're not content with being the largest independently run Niners channel on YouTube. We're always looking to recruit new members of the faithful, and I promise you, you will enjoy our coverage. So, 5 likes away from 100. As soon as we hit that century mark, we're going to start the show, but continue to pepper that thumbs up icon, like the video. 4 segments coming up. Tomorrow, I'll be joining Larry Krueger on The Krug Show. That'll be at 1:45 p.m. Eastern, 10:45 a.m. Pacific out there on the West Coast. Some great Niners talk then, and some great Niners talk right now, which is coming your way. All right, here we go. Welcome into the show. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr., and no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, as always, I greatly appreciate all of you for making today's show a part of your day. Coming up, good news on the horizon for the Niners as they are set to get multiple key players back in the coming weeks, and it's really going to help out this football team. First, let's start off with this. It's a bye week for the Niners, a week of rest for a banged-up football team. They'll play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming up in Week 10. But I'm curious, how will you spend your Sunday with no Niners football? Share your weekend plans with me down in the comment section right now. And I hope everybody out there getting set to have a fantastic weekend. So these players are expected to return for the Niners over the next few weeks. NFL Offensive Player of the Year last year, Christian McCaffrey at that running back spot. One of the top linebackers in the NFL in Dre Greenlaw, a great sidekick to Fred Warner. Talanoa Hufanga, an all-pro back in 2022. Injury-plagued seasons, his last two. And then a free agent acquisition who a lot of people haven't become familiar with in Yetur Gross-Matos because he's barely played for this team, but he does have ability and versatility at that defensive end and defensive tackle spot. Think Arden Key when you think about Yetur Gross-Matos. Will the Niners, in addition to those players who we just showed you, get even more additions to the roster with Tuesday's NFL trade deadline nearing? Here's what John Lynch had to say about that this week. Nothing's imminent right now. I will tell everyone that. But if something does come together here, the trade deadline's on Election Day. Interesting how they did that. But if anything comes by then, that makes sense. It can make us a better football team, fits with our financial position and all those things, then we'll certainly pull the trigger. As for where the Niners are right now and where their thinking could be, think about it from the shoes and the seat and the vantage point of Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. They're probably having these conversations, right? Well, we're going to get Christian McCaffrey back, Dre Greenlaw, Talanoa Hufanga, Yetur Gross-Matos over the next, let's call it, month, right? Some players back sooner as compared to others. Those are really good additions for your football club, and they can really help shore up some of the weaknesses and blemishes that you have on your roster. The Niners could also be thinking, do we want to make a move? We like our young players, Renardo Green, Dominic Pooney, Ricky Pearsall, Jacob Cowing, Malik Mustafa. Let's see what we have, continue to play them, and let's see what they can do with their ascending development. The Niners could also be thinking, are we even good enough? If not, let's play it out, play these young players, not make a move, and then next year when we get healthier, we'll be right in the thick of the race in the NFC and in Super Bowl contention. As John Lynch also said, if there's a player out there that we believe could help us and fits what we're looking for as far as our organizational profile, we could decide to trade for a player and pull that trigger. As for Christian McCaffrey, the expectation is that he will play next week against the Buccaneers. He's been ramping up his physicality this week as far as coming back off that bilateral Achilles tendonitis. If it all goes well for the remainder of this week and he's able to practice next week as San Francisco opens up his practice window, then he could play in Tampa. Whether he comes back, we'll certainly see. When he does come back, or if he comes back this year, here's how he can help the Niners. He's one of the NFL's top skill players, and he's so dynamic with the ball in his hands, running it and receiving it. I think he's really going to be able to help out this 28th ranked Niners red zone offense. They've had no issues in moving the football, but once they get inside the 20, whether they're in the low red area or the high red area, they haven't been able to punch it in and finish those drives with touchdowns. But with McCaffrey, he's such a game changer where he adds such a fascinating element to your offense where he can help you get into the paint. Defenses are going to have to account for him in a plethora of ways. He's going to open up opportunities for others, and he's a home run threat. Regardless of where you are on the field, he can take it to the house at any moment. The last 2 years, we've seen how productive and special of a player that he is. In 2023, led the NFL in all-purpose yards, tied for first in touchdowns for non-quarterbacks. He was the NFL Offensive Player of the Year, and he was top 5 in MVP voting. It truly will go down as one of the finest running back seasons that we'll ever see. He runs for nearly 1,500 yards, 5.5 yards per carry, 14 touchdowns on the ground, 7 more through the air, so 21 total touchdowns last year. But him being a receiving threat is what makes him so unique. 67 catches, 564 yards. And the year before that, he was excellent with the Niners after the trade. He was pretty good with Carolina before the trade. He ran for over 1,100 yards. Yards per carry 4.7. He had 8 touchdowns on the ground. 85 catches for 741 yards. It's so unique with what he's able to do in the pass game. If you're excited about these looming additions, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. If you don't think it will matter because the Niners are flawed, then I want you to share and comment why. More to get to here on the show, but first, let's give a shout out to our sponsor, Game Time, for making today's Niners Report possible. This is the only ticketing app that I use, and it's the best one in what is a competitive and crowded marketplace. Why? They have the best seats at the lowest price guaranteed. They specialize in last-minute tickets as prices drop as the event gets closer. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. Terms apply. First purchase only. It's not just an app for sporting events. Thanks to Game Time Picks, curation makes it easier to find tickets to games, but also concerts, comedy shows, theater events, and more. I talk sports for a living, so sometimes I like to unplug a little bit, check out a concert, check out a comedy show, laugh, enjoy some good tunes. If you want to go to Niners Bucks or any Niners game this year, home or away, plenty of tickets available. I'm a big fan of how you can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. So one more time, download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. Terms apply. First purchase only. What time is it? Yeah, you already know. It's game time. As for the injury status for Dre Greenlaw, great news for this Niners defense because they've really struggled at that linebacker spot and at that second level with him outside of Fred Warner. Kyle Shanahan saying this week, I'd probably be surprised if it was right after the bye week, but I do think right after that, it'll be week to week, which means if everything goes right, it'll be a sooner week than a later week for whatever the diagnosis is. How Greenlaw can help San Francisco. Look, Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner are one of the best linebacker tandems in the NFL. Sideline to sideline range. Up and down the field, they have that range. Against the pass, against the run, they both bring speed, physicality, fire, confidence, and they inject fear into the opponent. Dre Greenlaw is the Niners' enforcer for a reason. When other teams turn on the tape, when all of us turn on the tape, we see 57 causing havoc, wreaking havoc, and making plays. Outside of Fred Warner, Niners linebackers have struggled badly, especially with a player like Devondre Campbell in coverage, even though he was much better against the Dallas Cowboys. He's just not to the likes of Dre Greenlaw when he's healthy. Speed, physicality, and instincts, obvious traits that pop off the screen when you watch Greenlaw, and his impact, profound and noticeable. Without him this year, the Niners have felt it. Without him in the Super Bowl, it led to the Niners partially losing that game. And Greenlaw last year put together a really good regular season. I thought he played at an all-pro caliber level. This is a good indication of when sometimes the analytics don't go to show you how special and how meaningful a player is, because regular season numbers to the left of your screen, and these numbers are still really good, right? An overall PFF grade of 69.3, a coverage grade according to Pro Football Focus of 72.1, and a run defense grade of 70.9. Again, all those numbers really good. But in the NFL playoffs, he took his game to another level when the lights were shining the brightest, and he was truly, truly spectacular. Overall PFF grade went up to 80.2, coverage grade 89.7, and a run defense grade 55.8. The coverage grade there of nearly 90, just so important for the Niners defense during that playoff run, and obviously the 2 interceptions of Jordan Love really helped boost those numbers. As for Talanoa Hufanga, there was a report from Mike Silver that some people within the organization didn't think that he was going to be able to come back, but then Hufanga's agent told Mike Silver he is going to come back, but when he does, he's going to have to wear a cast on his wrist as he has some torn ligaments in there. But this is an all-pro player on your defense. He's versatile, and he can play all across the yard. He really does have a knack for making big-time plays, always around the football. He gives San Francisco a lot of the same things that Dre Greenlaw does: physicality, instincts, diagnosing plays, and he also gives you much-needed safety depth. Now, I don't think it should come at the cost of taking Malik Mustafa and Jair Brown off the field all that much. You've seen some glimpses and improvements from Brown. You see potential with Malik Mustafa, but it's not like you have to take them off the field because Hufanga can really play in multiple areas around the line of scrimmage, hybrid linebacker, safety. Sometimes the Niners do try to hide him because he does struggle in coverage, but like Greenlaw, he brings this team an injection of this confidence and swagger and this fight type of mentality. And I think the Niners have really missed him this year, even though sometimes he can get burnt when he's that single high safety or dropping back in coverage. Halioturgros Matos can help this team, a little-known player on this Niners defense. He's a good player. He's physical. He's a long athlete. Wingspan is more than 80 inches. He's tall. He does remind me a lot of Arden Key with the way that he's able to play defensive end and defensive tackle. The Niners are short on depth at both of those positions. And before he got hurt again, on 50 pass rushing snaps, he had 5 pressures and 4 hurries. So that's making an impact right there. The Niners, ladies and gentlemen, are 4-4 going into the bye. We're at about the halfway point of the 2024 season. Which record and what record will the Niners finish with? Let me know down in the comment section right now. Cerebral Assassin, a $2 super chat. Hand it over your hat to our shipping department, my man. That's going to be sent out tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. Really appreciate that $2 super chat. And then Forrest Winston, go get Max Crosby is what you meant to say. Bosa needs help, and they can afford him. They can afford him right now, technically. Looking ahead into the future could be a little bit more difficult. I love Max Crosby as a player. He's one of the top edge rushers in the game. I love the way that he plays the game of football. So much hustle, so much physicality, a love for the game. And he just has a knack for getting after the quarterback. Bosa certainly needs help on that other side. I just don't think the Raiders are going to deal him away. So we're up to $12 in Super Chats, which means we're $88 away from reaching our first goal. Every $100 that we get in Super Chats, I'm putting on a new Halloween mask. And so $88 away from 100. And you can see how Seahawks today and the Cowboys report fared this week. We obviously want to beat them. And every $100 that we get, it's Halloween, Thursday, October 31st, 2024, in case you've been hibernating. Let's get those Super Chats going, and obviously we appreciate your support. Segment number 4 will be a mailbag, so get your questions in right now. Use the hashtag 49ers or send in a Super Chat. And segment number 2, we're going to talk about some trade buzz from ESPN with the NFL trade deadline coming up on Tuesday. Chad Riso, he is a first-time Super Chatter. Chad Riso, thank you so much for the donation. We will pop up your Super Chat here on the screen to celebrate that. My man, thanks for tuning into the program. Hope you're enjoying the coverage. I like the profile picture. In the whip, hand on the wheel, chilling, probably listening to some good music. 420 people watching. Continue to hit that thumbs up icon, like the video, and let's move forward with segment number 2 as we're live right here on the Niners Report. NFL trade deadline is coming up on Tuesday, November 5th, and trade rumors are heating up for the San Francisco 49ers. Will the Niners buy? Will they sell? Will they stay put? We're talking about that on today's Niners Report. I'm Chase Sr. Thank you so much for hanging out. A reminder, hit that subscribe button because whether the Niners make a move or they don't, I'm bringing you so much content every single day, year-round, on the largest independently run Niners channel right here on YouTube. And, of course, if the Niners do make a move, we'll be going live. We'll be talking about it, and you don't want to miss our coverage. Here is where the Niners currently sit. 4-4 going into the bye week. They will play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming out of the bye week in Week 10. The Niners are equipped nicely as far as cap space goes. $54 million, according to Over the Cap. That's the most cap space in the National Football League. They'll probably want to and will carry that cap space over from year to year. And I know the Niners are 500. They've certainly been a frustrating up and down Jekyll and Hyde football team, but the NFC West is wide open, and the NFC is wide open as well. It is there for the Niners taking. If they can stay healthy, play up to their level, get some of these additions back, and play the football that they're capable of playing. As for previous trades in previous years, This is why I talk about the Niners making moves often, and it's so funny to see these trades will never happen. Why are you talking about it, Chase? Well, look at the Niners' track record. That's why. They traded for Emmanuel Sanders in 2019, had an impact during that Super Bowl run as a wide receiver, as a depth piece there, alongside Deebo Samuel, Kendrick Bourne, George Kittle. They traded for Jordan Willis in 2020 to bring in defensive end depth. Charles Omeni, who ended up being a really good player for San Francisco, they traded for him at the deadline in a deal with the Houston Texans in 2021. He lived up to the billing. Christian McCaffrey has been the most valuable skill position player in the NFL since that trade. He's been incredible for this Niners team. That was a superstar trade. And Chase Young, that was a sizable move last year. You can rip him for his lack of hustle, his inconsistent production, but when he's engaged, he's a really good player. So what say you? Do the Niners need to make a trade? Type Y for yes, type N for no. This will be the pinned comment on today's show. So if you get hit with that YouTube ad break, use it to your advantage. Let your voices be heard. Scroll on down, get your votes in. And by the time that you do that, we'll be back talking Niners trade buzz here on the show. Here is what NFL insider Jeremy Fowler said about the Niners. They have at least considered a move for defensive line help. I've talked with multiple teams that believe they could make a move. What about targeting former 49ers defensive tackle DeForest Buckner of the Indianapolis Colts, or another former Niner in Broncos defensive tackle DJ Jones? Let's talk about both of those players. Jeremy Fowler is very plugged in. For Buckner, he's 30 years old, probably on the back end if you want to use a golf reference of his career, but he's still playing really good ball. He has an overall Pro Football Focus grade of 78.1. That is 10th among all defensive tackles, 198 of them across the league. Run defense grade, 76.4. That's 9th. His pass rush grade, suffering a little bit this year, 65.9. But could it be better when you're playing alongside a player like Nick Bosa? That does rank 58th among defensive tackles. He has 3 sacks from that defensive tackle spot. That's 11th in the NFL. And he is a run stuffer and a pass rusher. What do the Niners need? Run stuffing help, pass rushing help. Here's why I don't think DeForest Buckner gets moved, though. The Colts are 4-4. They're in second place in the AFC South. They just benched Anthony Richardson for Joe Flacco. That signals an all-in move because Flacco helps them win right now. They just played the Texans close last week in Week 8. Why would they move off of a player who's a pillar of their defense? I don't think Buckner comes back to the Niners for a reunion, although I'd be down for it because I think that he could be really good on this team. As for DJ Jones, his numbers are a little bit down, but you know what he can bring to the table. And in 2021, I thought he was awesome in a contract year for San Francisco. He got a bag from Denver at the time, $10 million per year. Hasn't quite lived up to that, a lot of Broncos fans will probably admit, but he knows the scheme. He's good against the run, and he can get slippery with some physicality and overpowering some interior offensive linemen to generate some pressure on the quarterback. This year, overall PFF grade of 63.9. That's 64th among 198 defensive tackles. Pass rush grade of 70.9. That's really good at 27th. And a run defense grade of 57.4. That's 82nd. Usually, that's his strength this year for a very good Broncos defense led by Vance Joseph. Those numbers aren't all that good, but the Broncos clearly trust him because he's one of the better players on that defensive front for Denver. But I don't think that DJ Jones gets moved either because the surprise Denver Broncos are 5-3. And I think with a team like Denver, they have a rookie quarterback in Bo Nix. Sean Payton, nobody expected that team to make the NFL playoffs. So if they can get into the playoffs and get their young quarterback some much-needed experience, they're going to do that. And this is a Broncos team that lost their first 2 games, and so they are 4-1 in their last 5. And I don't think they trade away DJ Jones because they're not in sell mode. Coming up next, a player who the Niners realistically could get because the New England Patriots could decide to sell because they are a bad team and they're not in playoff contention. Who is this player? Stay tuned to find out. First, today's 49ers Report is sponsored by Prize Picks, the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. You can withdraw your winnings within the app, and right now, you get $50 when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. All you have to do, plug in that link, prizepicks.com/CLNS. One of the good games in the NFC this weekend with the Niners having a bye week, Cowboys, Falcons. Dak Prescott, more than a half pick. He's been awful this year. Bijan Robinson, more than 73.5 rushing yards. We know that the Cowboys struggle against the run. CeeDee Lamb and Drake London, more than 152.5 receiving yards combined. It makes game days so much more fun. Get in on the action with PrizePicks. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. We will put that link down below in the comment section and in the description of this video. PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I get paid as quick as 15 minutes. As for that player that the Niners continue to be tied to, it's this defensive tackle here to my right. And we have seen New England already making some moves. Davon Godchaux of the Patriots. Here's what Dan Graziano, another NFL insider for ESPN, had to say about him. That would make a lot of sense, this move, but I don't get the sense either of those teams are eager to move those guys. That's Graziano actually talking about Buckner and DJ Jones. Here's what he had to say about Godchaux, right? If the Niners are looking to add up front on defense, the more likely trade candidate might be Davon Godchaux. Since the Patriots seem to be moving guys who they've recently extended, Godchaux has a $4 million guaranteed salary next year, but the Niners are all in, and I expect them to look for help on defense where they haven't looked like themselves all season. And this is a player who might not be a high-end starter for your football team, but with that $4 million guaranteed salary next year, a very good depth piece for San Francisco. He will be 30 on November 1st, but he's 6'3", 330, a classic run stuffer. You put him in that A-gap, and he's going to be able to take up a lot of real estate. He played his college football at LSU. He was a 2017 fifth-round pick of the Miami Dolphins. He was there from 2017 through 2020, and with the New England Patriots from 2021 up until modern day. I think that's a good sign because he's stayed with teams pretty much throughout the duration of both of his contracts. That means those teams find him to be a valuable player, and he's obviously good on the field, good in the locker room. Here's how he's fared in 2024. Bill Belichick has said some interesting things about this Patriots defense this year. He has pointed out their flaws. Gerard Mayo, the new head coach, called a lot of those defensive players soft the other week, and Bill Belichick said, we were a top 10 defense last year. This defense is not soft. These players are not soft. So the defense has taken a little bit of a step back. You put Godchaux on this team, I think he gets motivated coming to a Super Bowl contender, and I think that he plays better given the pieces around him. Overall PFF grade of 53.7, 120th among 198 defensive tackles. Pass rush grade, not bad, 61.6. The run defense grade, that is his strength. It's pretty low at 48.6. But on a better defense with Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw behind him, I think that number elevates. He is number 1 in run defense snaps among defensive tackles. So on clear running downs, he is the Patriots guy. San Francisco, as a unit defensively, has also improved against the run. So this is a player who you bring in, affordable price, rotational player who can help build upon these numbers right here. The rush play percentage. Teams are running the football 41.3% of the time against San Francisco. That's 10th in the NFL. But the Niners, despite a lot of those attempts, 9th in yards per rush at 4.3, 9th in rushes per game at 24.6, and they are 6th in rushing yards allowed per game at 105.8. The analytics are a little bit up and down as far as how San Francisco is faring against the run, but Godchaux is a player who could really help you. He would not be a superstar addition, but again, to round this out, a depth piece at defensive tackle who can help you with one of your weaknesses in stopping the run, and most importantly, he's affordable this year, he's affordable next year. Be sure to give me a follow on X and Instagram. My following on both social media platforms has really taken off. Across all of my YouTube platforms and social media, I've reached 8 million people over the last month. It wouldn't be possible without all of your support. I greatly appreciate it. Much love to all of you. And if you want to stay in the know with more Niners content in addition to what you find here on YouTube, you can find me over there. Nick Dolfer, a $50 super chat. San Francisco. Thank you, Nick. It would be great if the 49ers pick up another edge rusher opposite of Bosa. Yeah, edge rusher, defensive tackle, my top two needs for San Francisco right now. I think they're fine at wide receiver. If they do make a move for a wideout, it's probably a depth piece. Joe Squared, a $5 super chat. Do you think the Niners need an offensive coordinator just to give different looks with Kyle Shanahan's offense? I don't know about that. I will say this. Do they miss some of the creativity and innovation from Mike McDaniel? I think there could be something to be said for that. But look, last year, with Kyle Shanahan running the offensive show, they averaged nearly 30 points per game. They were the number one overall offense in the NFL. They had the number one red zone offense. This year, they're still really good. They're not to that level, but it's hard to sustain that level year over year. Good question, though, Joe Squared. Thanks for watching the show. Okay, we're up to $77 in Super Chats. Every $100 that we get, I'm digging into my bag, and I'm putting on a new Halloween mask because we're live. It's Thursday, October 31st, Halloween. So we are $23 away from putting on one Halloween mask, and we're inching closer toward beating the Cowboys report and Seahawks today. Can you help us get there? Let's go. Segment number 3 is coming up. We'll talk Niners trade targets next, and then we'll take your questions for a mailbag. So get your questions in, hashtag 49ers, or send in a super chat. MJW, I liked it. Time for trick or treats. Have some fun. If you're taking the kiddos out, have a great time. If you're going trick-or-treating yourself, get some good candy. Reese's are my favorite. Okay, segment number 3. On the horizon. It's quickly approaching. I see it in the rear view, and now it's coming up. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report. I'm Chase Sr. Regardless of where you are or how you're tuned in, thank you so much for clicking on today's video. Coming up, 49ers trade targets that make sense given the Niners' needs going into Tuesday's NFL trade deadline. And when you think about the Niners' major needs, Nick Bosa needs some help. He leads the NFL in pressures this year. He is playing at an all-pro level, playing as good as he played when he was the Defensive Player of the Year back in 2022. Other than him, Leonard Floyd, he's been up and down. The depth behind Leonard Floyd, not that great. Malik Collins, a good player, not a great player. You're without Javon Hargrave, who is a very good pass-rushing defensive tackle. So you are lacking talent in general with your pass rush and depth. At defensive tackle, you really don't have a lot of depth. Kevin Givens, he is what he is, a roster bubble type of guy. Kalia Davis, he's had some moments, but he's been injured a lot. And so when you think about these needs, we flip the page to players who make sense for San Francisco, given their needs and other teams who can make these players available. Azeez Ojulari, edge rusher from the New York Giants. Davon Godchaux of the New England Patriots, a run-stuffing defensive tackle who we've talked about here on the show. Zadarius Smith, older edge rusher for the Cleveland Browns. That would be a win-now move, short window move. Jadeveon Clowney, same applies with what I said with Zadarius Smith, clearly past his prime, but still impactful. And then there's Preston Smith, who isn't really playing a lot for the Green Bay Packers and their much-improved defense. My top player who I want San Francisco to trade for, and this is addressing a need, this is a cost-controlled asset, this is a player who could be a part of their future, and a player who I would love on the other side of Nick Bosa, is Azeez Ojulari. He helps you with your Super Bowl window, and he can be that player who can help you as you project forward as well. He is only 24 years old. He is an edge rusher who's 6'3", 240. So a little bit smaller, a little bit leaner, but in that build of Leonard Floyd, and he plays a little bit like Leonard Floyd. Twitch, speed, fast first step, bend coming off the edge. He has some pedigree, a 2021 second-round pick out of Georgia. He's in the final year of his contract. If you need to move on, you can. If you want to retain him, I don't think he's going to break the bank. And he's a really good pass rusher who sometimes, because of his lack of size, can struggle in setting the edge against the run and struggle against the run in general, even though this year his PFF numbers against the run are pretty good. As for the cost, $2.1 million cap hit this year. A base salary of $1.5 million. That's peanuts. The Niners have $54 million in cap space right now, according to Over the Cap. That's the most among all teams in the National Football League. As far as his production, obviously that's important. He's played 8 games this year. He has 6 sacks already. That is top 10 in the NFL. He has 7 quarterback hits. So a little bit boomer bust. When he gets to the quarterback, he gets to the quarterback. 7 TFLs. That's why his grades against the run have been pretty good as compared to previous years, and 1 forced fumble. The last 3 games, though, he's really turned it on. And he's been very impressive when you turn on the tape and you watch some of those Giants highlights. And that has coincided with Kayvon Thibodeau being out the last few weeks. He had to undergo like a hand or a wrist surgery. And so Ojulari, who wasn't playing a lot to start the year, is playing a lot more now, and he's been producing. And this Giants team, they're not going anywhere. They're not good enough on offense. They're not good enough at the quarterback position. And I think they're going to be drafting inside the top 10 when all is said and done. Could they use a draft pick in order to build up their team for the future? That's why they could move off of Azeez Ojulari. His Pro Football Focus numbers, again, a little bit boomer bust for the player, but Chris Kocurek is one of the top defensive line coaches in the NFL, if not the best, and we've seen him maximize defensive linemen. Overall PFF grade, 59.8. Pass rush grade, 57.5. Pretty good run defense grade at 62.1. But look, on 141 pass rushing snaps, he's made the most of it. He has 19 pressures and 6 sacks. And I think that Ojulari and Leonard Floyd would give the Niners 2 very similar players and 2 speed rushers opposite of Nick Bosa. You're expected to get Yetur Gross-Matos back. He's more of that physical, bigger type of defensive end who can also play defensive tackle. And I think that this move could really help out San Francisco. Let's ask you this. What say you? What is the Niners' biggest need at the NFL trade deadline? Sound off with what you think. I always want you to share your thoughts because on this show, you always have a voice, so let it be heard. Our sponsor for today's program, Game Time. The only app that I use in a crowded ticketing marketplace. Best seats at the lowest price guaranteed. They specialize in last-minute tickets because the more that you wait until the start of the event, especially if you're a busy guy like me, the more that prices drop. They have ticket insurance. They have flash deals. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. And that is something that is not on all other ticketing apps. I want to see, when I go to the stadium, what will I be seeing for the price point? And also, if you toggle the all-in pricing feature, you will not get hit with surprise fees at checkout. How often does that happen with all of these other apps? Thanks to Game Time Picks, you can find tickets to a Niners game and all types of sporting events, NHL, college football, Major League Baseball, NBA, but also you can go to concerts, comedy shows, and theater events. Niners Bucks coming out of the bye. If you live in Florida, you want to go to that game in Tampa, or you're looking to get some sunshine if you live in a cold climate right now with fall in full swing, head on down there to Florida. Plenty of tickets available, and make sure you use the Game Time app. So download the app, create an account, use the code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS. Terms apply. First purchase only. You get $20 off. What time is it? Game time. So you circle back to the players who I think make sense for San Francisco. Azeez Ojulari, Davon Godchaux, Za'Darius Smith, Jadeveon Clowney, Preston Smith. All different players who could help out this squad. For Godchow, we've talked about him here on the show. He's going to be 30 years old on November 1st. 6'3", 330, a classic girthy, run-stuffing defensive tackle. He played his college football at LSU, 2017 fifth-round pick of the Dolphins. He was there throughout the duration of his rookie contract, and then with the New England Patriots over the last couple of years, he is number 1 in the NFL at defensive tackle in run defense snaps. And then you also look at some of the Pro Football Focus grades. It's been a little bit up and down, but on a better defense, I do think that he would fare a little bit better. $4 million in guaranteed salary for 2025, that's really not a lot when it comes down to it. Zadarius Smith, throughout the course of his career, he has been one of the more productive pass rushers in the game. If you just think about sack totals, he's played for the Baltimore Ravens. He's played for the Minnesota Vikings, now playing for the Cleveland Browns, and he's produced at every stop, and he's played for some really good defensive minds. And I imagine he'd really crave the opportunity to play for San Francisco. He's not going to be a player like Azeez Ojulari, who has twitch and bend, who's going to be that freaky, lean bean athlete, right? But he's more of a physical defensive end who can win with a bull rush. He has some pass rushing moves and would be a good complement on the opposite side of Nick Bosa. Jadeveon Clowney, huge name throughout his career, up and down numbers. His last 4 years, as evidenced, right? 9 sacks in 2021 with 19 quarterback hits with Cleveland, 11 TFLs. The following year, 2 sacks. Then he goes to Baltimore last year. 9.5 sacks, 19 quarterback hits, 9 TFLs, 2 forced fumbles. He's from the Carolinas. He signs with the Carolina Panthers. He's playing on the worst team in the NFL in 6 games, 1 sack, 2 quarterback hits, 3 TFLs, 0 forced fumbles. When he made that huge hit against Michigan, when he was playing at South Carolina, everybody thought he was going to be a Hall of Famer. He'll never be a Hall of Famer. He's been a very good player, not a great player. And this would be a stretch run type of move for San Francisco where I don't really think they envision him as being a part of the future. Preston Smith. The Green Bay Packers have been really bad defensively over the last few years. This year, they're much better. Jeff Hafley is their new defensive coordinator. He comes over from Boston College, where he was the head coach. Bill O'Brien, former Texans coach and offensive coordinator for the New England Patriots, is now their head coach. So that's been an interesting development as far as if you're a college football fan and NFL fan. And Preston Smith, 6'5", 265, played his college football at Mississippi State. He's been a successful player in the NFL. He does have 2.5 sacks, but his playing time is down. I highly doubt that Green Bay would give an NFC contender like San Francisco, who they haven't been able to beat in the playoffs, a player like this who can help them, but it is a player who could be on the trade block. Be sure to give me a follow on social media at Chase_Senior. Really appreciate your support on this platform. I appreciate the support on those platforms as well. I never stop talking ball. So if you like me, stay in the know with all things Niners every day, year round. That was segment number 3. We'll get to segment number 4 coming up. We are $23 away from putting on a Halloween mask. Who's going to help us get there? And now a lot of people will bring up offensive linemen. Offensive linemen aren't available. Now, Cam Robinson did get traded from the Jags to the Vikings. And that was a rare instance in which a starting offensive tackle gets traded from one team to another. But the Vikings lost Christian Darrisaw for the remainder of the year. ACL, MCL injury for a player who they just paid big-time dollars to. And so they needed to make a move, and they were willing to overpay. And the Jags are also bad. All right, last call. Get those questions in. Hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat. We have a mailbag coming up. How are we doing on that shit? How are we doing with questions?
We could use a couple more. We got a few super chats with a couple questions, but we could use a few more. We only have, let's see. We got King Javier asking a question. We got Mr. Block Ice with a question. And we got Foxy asking a question. That's the only hashtag 49ers questions. Let's get a couple more in. And then we'll get to this mailbag, baby.
Yes, sir. You already know.
I see some people asking questions, not even using the hashtag. Got to use hashtag 49ers so we can get you here up on the screen.
Don't be scared.
Can't be scared out here.
Get on the show.
Andre, that's a great question. Use hashtag 49ers.
Get on the show. Super chat like Nick Dolfer. Andre, Arabella, Mike Nichols, Glitch, Gabriel, Dan, Chua, Joel, Millie Rock. All a part of the recent commenter club. It's Halloween. Let's celebrate. $23 away from 100, and we'll put on a Halloween mask. Dan Nelson, why not Chase Young? The Niners let him go for a reason. They didn't like his lack of hustle, his lack of dedication to the game. Gump Wolf, that's a good $5 super chat. I'll answer that in the mailbag. What do you think of defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence? That gets us $18 away from putting on a Halloween mask. Dexter Lawrence, fantastic player. One of the top overall players in the NFL. I don't think the Giants trade him away. So Gump Wolf, looking good, my man, with the turnover chain and the Niners gear. Our Super Chat MVP multiple times last year. And one of the OGs here on the show. Yes, sir.
Good stuff. Few people asking questions here. Appreciate that.
Let me just fire off this email here.
Michael,
all right.
Arabella, getting those questions in. Let's do it.
Mailbag coming up. Anthony DeLeon. $20 super chat gets us over 100. And he says, what's up, family? Hope everybody is well. All right, so Chip's going to pop up that super chat. We're past 100, which means I got to put on a Halloween mask. And so we're up to 102 right now. Chip's going to get that super chat up. And then I'm going to duck down, put on my Halloween mask. If we get a $500 super chat, I'll do the whole mailbag in a Halloween mask. Anthony DeLeon! Bang, bang, Niner gang. What's up, family? I hope everybody is doing well. Good to hear from you again, my guy. His 20th super chat on a live stream. Appreciate your support. All right, so we're past $100 in super chats. Mask number 1 is going on. Happy Halloween, everybody! How are we doing? Are we ready to answer some questions and talk some San Francisco 49ers? San Francisco! You're not getting this on ESPN, man.
Are you doing the mailbag in that?
$500 super chat. I'll do the mailbag in this. At least I'll take some questions in it. Oh, man. Woo! That thing's hot.
It's horrifying.
Arabella, it is my son's birthday. Happy birthday. 49ers Josh said, cringe as fuck. You just don't like to have any fun. It's Halloween, brother. People are dressing up today, in case you didn't know.
This guy doesn't like Halloween.
Muhammad Khalaf. Hey, guys, what's the news on Greenlaw? We talked about him earlier this week. Kyle Shanahan did say that he expects Greenlaw to come back, not right after the bye, but after that, it's going to kind of be a week-to-week type of basis for him. All right, let's answer your questions. Let's get into this mailbag. Always love chopping it up with the faithful, so let's do that right now. Welcome into another edition of the San Francisco 49ers Report right here on the Chat Sports Network. I'm Chase Sr. Coming up on today's show, we're going to chop it up with the faithful. It's a bye week for the Niners, but our coverage doesn't stop because there are no days off, so we're going to open up the floor and take some questions from some of our loyal viewers, real ones, and subscribers. A reminder, you know what I need you to do? Go on down there. You see it? Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. We are approaching 150,000 subscribers. This is the largest Niners show on YouTube in the entire world, so be a part of the movement. And when you do hit that sub button, you can be a part of our content as well. For instance, Nick Dolfer, a $50 super chat. Trade deadline, by the way, is coming up on Tuesday. It would be great if the 49ers pick up another edge rusher opposite of Nick Bosa. And I agree that pass rush and stopping the run, two of the biggest needs for this Niners team. And imagine if Nick Bosa or Leonard Floyd were to go down, the Niners would be handicapped severely with trying to generate pressure on the quarterback. Nick Bosa is having an incredible year. And last year, he put up some really good numbers, but you could tell he got off to a slow start after he didn't partake in any preseason games or in training camp, and he didn't sign that lofty contract extension, making him the highest paid defender in the history of football until the Wednesday before the season opener. And so he was slow to get going, but then middle to latter portion of the year, he really started to turn it on. He was really good in the playoffs, and he said this offseason, I'm in the best shape that I've been in a while. Certainly better than last year. We're seeing that. He leads the NFL in pressures according to Pro Football Focus, but if he can get another legitimate player opposite of him who can be highly productive, because Leonard Floyd has been a little bit disappointing, it helps him out, makes this Niners team much better. I'm interested to see what the Niners do. 4-4. John Lynch has said, if there's a player out there that we like, we'll think about getting them. He's made a lot of moves recently. 2019, Emmanuel Sanders. 2020, Jordan Willis. 2021, Charles Omenihu. 2022, Christian McCaffrey. 2023, Chase Young. But is there a player out there who they think can move the needle for this ball club? Forrest Winston, a $10 super chat. Go get Max Crosby is what he meant to say. Bosa needs some help, and they could afford him. Look, I love Max Crosby. I think that he is right up there with Nick Bosa among some of the best pass rushers in the game. Bosa and Crosby are different players. Like when you look at Bosa, he looks as though he was built in a lab, but they play similarly, right? Hustle, loving the craft, technique, pass rushing moves. And so Max Crosby isn't like the athlete that Bosa is, but they're just as effective in getting after the quarterback because of their relentless pursuit and their love for the game of football. And Max Crosby is actually a pretty affordable player for what he gives his defense. Nick Bosa is making $34 million per year, average annual value. Max Crosby is in the mid-20s. So that's actually a pretty good bargain, but he's the face of the Raiders, and I don't think the Raiders move off of him. Now, if I were running the Raiders, would I entertain it? They're not going anywhere with Max Crosby. It's not really going to help you become a winning team. I would think about trading him, getting a bunch of assets back, because I think that you can get 2-1s and just tearing it down and rebuilding. But again, the Raiders aren't smart. They're not going to do that. Joe Squared, $5 super chat. Do you think the Niners need an offensive coordinator just to give different looks with Kyle Shanahan's offense? During our live show, I touched on that a little bit, but for those of you obviously not watching the live show when this video comes out, think about San Francisco's offense, right? Last year, they were the number 1 overall offense in the NFL. Analytically, they were top 5 in pretty much everything. They were number 1 in red zone scoring percentage. They were an incredible unit. This year, they are still 8th in points per game despite their red zone struggles. They're 2nd in yards per game at 412. 9th in points per play. 2nd in yards per play. 6th on third downs. What's held them back? 25th in the red zone. Fourth down conversion rate, 42.8%. That's 25th, but they don't face a lot of fourth downs. And touchdowns per game, 2.6. If they can figure out their red zone problems, they revert back to what they did last year. And so last year, excellent offense. This year, flashes of a good offense. They've been inefficient in the red zone. So I don't really think that Kyle Shanahan needs an offensive coordinator. This is also the time of the year where he starts to make some really key and monumental adjustments, and hopefully he can do that. But still, the jury is out with how he fares against some of the top defensive minds. There's no doubt about that. Brian Flores, Steve Spagnuolo, Jim Schwartz. I do think that maybe at times he misses the creativity of Mike McDaniel. Will Mike McDaniel get canned by Miami? Could he come back to San Francisco? We'll certainly see. I think he would want to go somewhere where he can call plays, though. Kyle Shanahan's going to continue to call plays. Gumpwolf, what do you think of defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence? I think that Dexter Lawrence is one of the top overall players in the National Football League. Completely dominant, building block, and a cornerstone for that New York Giants team. And again, he's not just one of the best defensive players in the NFL. He's one of the best overall players in the National Football League. He has 9 sacks playing nose tackle. He has to face a lot of double teams, and he is legitimately putting together a Defensive Player of the Year type of season. If the Giants were better, he would get more recognition. He's in his age 28 season. The last 2 years, he's been a Pro Bowler and a second-team All-Pro. He was 9th in Defensive Player of the Year voting last year, and now this year he's having a career year. Like 9 sacks from nose tackle, where you're lined up over the center. There aren't a lot of them anymore, and you're getting double-teamed a lot. He's breaking through those double teams. But because of how great he is, I don't think the Giants will trade him away, and it would cost a lot for San Francisco to bring him in. Would I love it? No doubt about it. I just don't think it's realistic. King Javier, need to get a new wide receiver. If the Niners make a trade for a wide receiver, I don't think it's going to be for a star-level player. I think it will be a Kendrick Bourne type of player or a Courtland Sutton type of player. I think Bourne is more realistic as compared to a player like Sutton because he's the best wide receiver on a Broncos team with the rookie quarterback who is 5-3 as a starter, and they've won 4 of their last 5 games. And so for that reason, I don't think the Broncos trade him away. Sutton also has 1 more year left on his contract after this year, and I kind of like the Niners receiving core. They could still get by with Deebo Samuel, Ricky Pearsall, Jacob Cowling, Jauan Jennings, Chris Conley, Ronnie Bell. Like, that's a good enough unit. And because they paid all this money to Aiyuk, I don't think they bring in a star-level player. There was some chatter that Kyle Shanahan was a big fan of Deontay Johnson. Can't do that any longer. He got traded to the Baltimore Ravens. So I think if they make a move, it's more defense over offense. Mr. Black Ice, I agree on not working Christian McCaffrey like crazy. We have good depth with our running backs. It will tire out the defenses left and right. Use our guys as far as trades, get the right player or players at the right price. So, Mr. Black Ice, appreciate your thoughts. I did a video on not overusing Christian McCaffrey as part of my bye week changes and the moves that the Niners need to make coming out of the bye. I did a YouTube short on it. And here's my thoughts, right? Christian McCaffrey is coming off bilateral Achilles tendonitis. Tough injury to come back from. Who's to say he's going to be the same guy? Who's to say that he can manage the same workload? Even if he can, manage his workload so that he can be a weapon as you near the playoffs. You also have him under contract through 2027. You gave him guaranteed money. You increased his average annual value. And so don't run him into the ground. You also have talented backs on this team. I want to continue to see Jordan Mason. I want to continue to see Isaac Guerendo. And so when you mix in those running backs, you keep McCaffrey fresh, but also you bring some really fascinating skill sets to this Niners offense. I thought what Steve Young said this week was very interesting. He wants to see Kyle Shanahan get creative, innovative, and hop in his bag and use all 3 players on the field at the same time. Now, he said that a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but his point was give the defense new looks and include McCaffrey, Guerendo, Mason. Because if you have all those players motioning and you can still have 2 wide receivers on the field and or a tight end, defenses are like, what the hell's happening? Who's getting the ball? And I agree, Mr. Black Ice. Use our guys. And as far as the trade, has to come at the right price. Thunderbolt. Do you think that we can beat the Buccaneers? I do. Tampa Bay not having Mike Evans, Chris Godwin out for the year makes that offense a lot more easier to defend. I do think that Baker Mayfield, since the midway point of last year, had been playing like a top 10 quarterback with those weapons at his disposal. They do have a really good defense. Kyle Shanahan will be matched up against another really good defensive mind in Todd Bowles, who gets aggressive. He will play man. He will blitz. And Brock Purdy, Kyle Shanahan have to show they can beat those type of upper echelon defensive coordinators. Dan Nelson, why not Chase Young? Why not Chase Young? I was a fan of the trade last year because the Niners needed pass rush help. Same story this year. And Chase Young, I'm always willing to take chances on players with pedigree, with talent, who have produced before. But then we saw that Chase Young's effort was really up and down, really inconsistent, and he doesn't fit the Niners culture. The Niners want football players who love football, who will play like Nick Bosa, like Fred Warner, like Diamador Lenore, and Dre Greenlaw, who embody the Niners culture, playing like dogs, loving the craft, loving the grind. I don't think Chase Young really loves it. I think that he banks a little bit too much on his athleticism. I think the Niners saw that. That's why they let him walk. He only signed a one-year deal with New Orleans. If the Niners wanted truly to bring him back, they could have. And I don't think that San Francisco is going to revisit this. As for how Chase Young is faring this year, let me take a look at his numbers real quick. You know, look, and this is what's frustrating. He's 6'5", 265. Like Bosa, built in a lab, a freak athlete. 7.5 sacks year one. Gets hurt, 1.5 sacks. 9 games year two. 3 games played year 3, barely played. Comes back in 2023, a total of 7.5 sacks. Pretty good. This year for New Orleans, 2 sacks on a pretty damn good defense. He should be able to dominate and take over games. He is in his age 26 season, so he's still young, but I just don't like the motor. Be sure to hit that subscribe button here on the Niners Report. I always love chopping it up with everybody. I want you to be a part of the show. Our mailbags are a way to do that. D-Boys forever, B-Boys forever. $20 super chat. Happy Halloween, Chase. I had a question off topic. Do you watch or commentate on MMA? I am new to your channel. Well, welcome. You're a real one. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for being new here. Thanks for hanging out and watching. So, as far as MMA goes, when there is a big fight, I will always watch. I think that when it comes down to big boxing bouts and big MMA fights, they are very hard to beat as far as the intensity and the type of theater that you get where you are on the edge of your seat because you know that fight can end with any punch or any kick. I think it's fascinating, and it's a fascinating sport. Now, I'm not going to watch MMA fights every card because, look, I talk sports for a living. I cover the NFL and the NBA league-wide, and obviously with the Niners here. And so I watch so much sports because it's part of my job and I love it. So when I'm not watching sports, sometimes I need to pop on a documentary. I need to watch Netflix. I need to watch a movie. I need to unplug, catch up on some podcasts, watch some podcasts on YouTube. And I really do enjoy doing that because I think it's important to be diverse as far as my interests and my skill set and my knowledge. So to answer your question, big fights I'll watch. It's not like I'm a diehard. I will say, producer Jeremy Chuggs here, who's the host also of our Texans channel and the host of our Raiders channel, he's very knowledgeable. I can ask him about any fighter, and he'll give me the breakdown. But yeah, it's a great sport. Great sport. I just don't have a lot of time to like tap into MMA and have that as part of my passion too, because I'm running all my social media pages. I'm running 2 YouTube channels. I'm a part of a 3rd alongside Ship. So it's a lot of work. Sometimes I need a break, and I love working out, run streak, with lifting weights and all that stuff. So appreciate the question, my man. All right, we're up to $122 in Super Chats. We got past 100. We put on a Halloween mask. We're about to sign off. I hope everybody has a safe and fun Halloween. Last call for Super Chats. Let's do that. So Seahawks today, 200. Cowboys report, 205. Every 100 is a new Halloween mask. So we'll hang out for 2 more minutes, and we'll see if we can beat that number. If we do, I put on a clown mask. I have 2 more masks that I can put on. Super Chat shot clock is activated. Activated! Almost broke my computer. What are the commenters saying? Arden Key on an expiring contract. Intriguing name. Chase gasses out from Andre. Hey, man, I'm hustling. Muhammad. Chase, what about grading the center position? Upgrading center? You know what's interesting? I was looking at some offensive line numbers the other day, and be sure to check the video out. John Lynch may have done it again with this draft class. Dominic Pooney hasn't given up a sack this year. Guess who also hasn't given up a sack? Jake Brendel. Now, I think that he's a little bit small, and I don't think that he's like a high-end center, but he hasn't given up a sack. It's pretty impressive. Vita Vea from Sacred Intuition. The Buccaneers are a playoff-level team. They're not going to trade him away. Dave Zobel, Max ain't getting traded. I agree. Last time Brock played Tampa Bay, played one of his best games, 21-25, 333, 3 tutties. Yeah, dominated that game. That was at home, though. A little bit different when you're in the heat of Tampa. Feliciano coming back this year? Yes, Dev415. Expected to soon. He'll serve as some offensive line depth. I don't know if he takes over for Jake Brendel. I think the Niners like that continuity up there. 10 seconds left on the Super Chat shot clock. Calais Campbell. I talked about him earlier this week. Dante down under. Chase is lazy. Haha, good one. Working 7 days a week. Running streak of over 550 days. I don't think that's lazy, my man. Challenge me. What you gonna do? All right, we're past 2 minutes. Are we getting Buckner back? Jeremiah Grady talked about him on the show today as well. I don't think it's going to happen because I think the Colts hold on to him because they're in playoff contention. Hopping on out of here for Chip, I'm Chase for the faithful. Bye week for San Francisco. Plenty of content to come on with Larry Kruger tomorrow. I'll see you then. Peace.